practice commencing now. Shoot all the targets in the shooting range. When the timer reaches 0, the exercise is over.
Costa Rica isn't alone. All of Latin America is getting swept up in the superpowers' Cold War. The whole ideological split between East and West. In the end, it's just a greedy scramble for wealth by the ruling classes. The Western bourgeois stand to lose everything if their countries go communist. After all, the communists want to abolish private property altogether. So the capitalist rulers desperately tried to halt the global spread of communism. Hence the phenomenon of red baiting. And the communists, for their part, didn't exactly stay true to their principles. They tried to escape class-based society, but between Stalin's autocracy and the rise of the nomenclatura, they ended up creating one anyway. Once people have power, they stop caring about equality. That's where communism, where society in general reaches its limits. The rulers only care about their own gain. The opposing side becomes a risk factor that threatens the profit, and thus the ongoing struggle between capitalism and communism was born.
And now, nuclear deterrence is part of the picture.
Exactly. They say nuclear weapons are the reason we haven't seen conflict on a global scale since World War II. The thought that your opponent might launch nukes against you sort of makes it tough to start an armed conflict. Especially now that they've got intercontinental ballistic missiles. Nowhere is safe.
Of course, all that has caused military expenditures to skyrocket.
Well, the only way to ward off a preemptive strike is to flaunt your own nuclear stockpile. And that's caused their numbers to increase exponentially. Not just with regards to destructive power, but in terms of targeting technology too. Now they can hit a target halfway across the world with pinpoint accuracy. In a way, the space race was a demonstration of that technological progress.
And as a result of all that, we now have mutually assured destruction.
It's the ultimate form of deterrence. No one's going to launch their nukes knowing they'll be obliterated in return.
I don't know. The chance of somebody hitting the button by mistake is never zero.
You're right. Even with peace guaranteed by MAD, there's always the risk of an accident.
Nobody wants the world to end on account of some machines malfunctioning.
On the other hand, thanks to deterrence, we haven't had a world war since 1945. You gotta admit, it has been pretty peaceful.
Not that it matters to us.
People point at the nuclear arms and space races and call it a Cold War. I say if they're not shooting at each other, why not call it world peace?
Doesn't mean war is gone. Look at Korea. Look at Vietnam.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking in relative terms here. Besides, if war died out completely, we'd be SOL.
We're not warmongers.
And yet, we can't survive in a world that's at peace.
You got a point.
Costa Rica's forests are more diverse than you might expect. Not all of them are tropical rainforests. Costa Rica is close to the equator, it is true, but it is also very mountainous.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Go up 4,000 feet in elevation and the temperature drops more than 7 degrees.
There are basically 3 types of forests. The lowlands are covered in tropical rainforests, the highlands by tropical cloud forests, and areas where there is a dry season have tropical dry forests. The lowlands along the Caribbean coast are mostly covered by hot, humid tropical rainforests, what most people envision when they think of jungle. The closely packed trees spread their branches out at great heights to soak up the sun. Their shade makes it dark near the ground, so be careful. Of course, with so little light, few plants can grow on the ground, so it might actually be easier to walk.
So even if you could photosynthesize, it wouldn't do you any good.
Photosynthesize? People cannot do that.
Most people, anyway.
Costa Rica is said to have about 87,000 species of living things. That is about 5% of all the known species in the world.
A tiny place like this? Huh. I'll be damned.
I want to protect that biological diversity. When diversity is lost, the environment weakens. Just look at the plantations.
I think I know what you mean. It's like trying to assemble a unit from similar guys. It usually doesn't work out. Throw a few square pegs in there and everything falls into place.
There are so many species here that a lot of them have not even been classified yet. I am hoping I can help do that someday. Kind of like a parataxonomist.
Say that again?
Parataxonomist. Someone who helps a taxonomist.
Oh. Huh. I thought you were going to say it had something to do with parachutes.
You're weird. The Development Corporation of Costa Rica, or CODESA, was established 2 years ago. Since President Oduber was elected this year, the state has been putting a lot more effort into development.
The corporate state, so to speak.
Growth is good and all, but there is one thing that bugs me.
What's that?
I cannot help but wonder whether CODESA is not just a front for the CIA.
You mean what the professor was saying about the CIA mercenaries posing as security guards? They were using CODESA as camouflage?
I am worried that development is going to destroy the forests, but I do not suppose it has anything to do with this.
Get as many targets as you can before time runs out. Commence target practice. vehicle unit, Snake. Either destroy the vehicle or neutralize the soldiers. Take it out.
Enemy tanks, armored vehicles, and attack choppers are always accompanied by a combat squad. The soldiers aren't particularly tough on their own. What makes them formidable is how well they work together as a team. As if you didn't have enough to worry about with the machine.
Good. I like a challenge.
Yeah, we'll see how you feel when you actually have to face them in battle. Snake, whatever you do, don't let them surround you. The last thing you need is to get pushed into the vehicle's kill zone. And pay attention to what your enemies say to each other. You can improve your chances by figuring out what they're planning and using it to preempt their movements. You don't always have to go toe-to-toe to win a fight. Think like a gorilla.
Got it.
Panama disease was rampant here about 20 years ago, putting a lot of banana plantations out of business.
Panama disease?
It is caused by a type of fungus. Apparently it killed off almost all the banana species that used to grow here.
How could that happen?
Cultivated bananas do not produce seeds. You have to remove and transplant part of the stem yourself. You plant them in the fields.
So you've got acres of identical plants?
See, when one plant is infected, the disease spreads quickly. Species lacking genetic diversity become weak. They grow different bananas today, one said to be resistant to Panama disease.
So it's been more than 10 years since the Cuban Missile Crisis, huh?
I don't think we'll ever forget it.
No kidding. Those 13 days starting October 15th, 1962, were probably the closest we ever came to all-out nuclear war. The Russians deployed nuclear missiles to Cuba. America responded with a naval blockade. Then Russia shot down an American spy plane. I was still a teenager back then, but I remember what it felt like to be one step away from nuclear war. The adults were freaking out.
If it wasn't for the Cuban Missile Crisis, there might never have been an Operation Snake Eater. And...
What's the matter, Snake? It's not like you to get all hypothetical.
I guess not. It was the reassessment after the missile crisis that paved the way for the hotline between Moscow and Washington, and also for détente. That's irony for you.
The Treaty of Tlatelolco was enacted to make Latin America into a nuclear-free zone. It bans the testing, use, manufacture, production, acquisition, storage, and deployment of nuclear weapons. The impetus was pretty obvious. The series of crises triggered by the deployment of nukes in Cuba.
Not hard to imagine. Those 13 days had the whole world frozen in fear.
Of course, the country that started it all, Cuba, hasn't actually ratified it yet.
Still, the treaty's backed by over 20 countries. Anyone flouting it risks becoming an international pariah.
True. Opinol would investigate, no doubt. I heard they used Japan's 3 non-nuclear principles as their model when they drew up the treaty. I think the Treaty of Tlatelolco might have been their way of asking nuclear powers not to use nukes against them. That's the biggest difference between the treaty and the 3 principles. I guess you could call it a 4th principle.
So Costa Rica abolished its army back in, what, 1949? Pretty gutsy move for a Central American nation at the time.
Yeah, well, they'd just come out of a civil war. I'm sure they were driven by a desire to avoid another tragedy like Paz said. But I think they had a more compelling reason. Army coup d'etat are a way of life in so many Latin American countries. Imagine seeing that up close.
No army, no coup. Makes sense.
Plus, their economy was in ruins, so they honestly didn't have any money to spend on an army anyway.
Yeah, but weren't they on less than friendly terms with Nicaragua?
Yeah, and in fact, Nicaragua did end up invading. But the Civil Guard fought back and the OAS brokered a ceasefire. The U.S. and the rest of the OAS had their back, and they used it to full advantage. For a quarter century, they survived in the powder keg of Central America. That must have taken some serious diplomacy. even if the Civil Guard is pretty decked out for a police force.
Must be tough to be a country without an army. Survival.
You've got to neutralize that armored vehicle somehow. The accompanying soldiers are armed to the teeth. Watch yourself. Not enough room, huh? We'll keep it here at the base. Fulton recovery subject confirmed onboard helicopter. Aim for the red fuel tank. That should stop it. Backup! Prepare for immediate deployment! Recovery helicopter is complete.
by. The enemy's attacking! Going to alert status!
Fulton recovery subject confirmed onboard helicopter. That's gotta be the leader. Can you take him down? Recover him and it's mission complete.
¡Shoot el chico libre! you roll me one? Tobacco.
Oh, yeah.
Chico.
Hold still.
I treated him like a kid again. We fought. I didn't want Chico to know. Kept it a secret. Somoza's Guardia chased us out of Nicaragua. Across the Rio San Juan. And we ended up here. The only reason we've been able to keep on fighting.
Amanda.
The factory. You saw it?
The banana factory.
A front. It's a drug refining plant. The KGB set it up for us to run. We used the income to buy food and weapons. Mi viejo never said a word, but we all knew. Everyone except Chico. Everything we have. Our weapons, our compass. He brought it all together. We were going to rebuild our country. Rebuild Nika with our own hands. Even if we had to dirty our hands to do it. But it's all over. We lost our cacique. Papa. I could never replace him. Now they've taken the plant from us too. There's no place left to regroup. No way to fight la revolución.
Here, I rolled you one.
What about you? You're going after that cargo?
Yeah.
Must be important,
Looks that way. It looks like it could be nukes.
What? Nukes? Madre de Dios. No time to waste. We must get to Irasu. The transport route leads there. It must be where they're holding Chico and my compass, too. Whenever Chico and I argue, he goes off to be by himself. That's why he knows more than anybody about their bases. Chico.
You're pretty worried about your baby brother.
This is why I'm not fit to be a leader.
Fine. It's a little bit out of my way, but just tell me where I need to go.
There's a prison up in the mountains. That's probably where he is.
A prison in the mountains.
You must do something for me. If you can't save Chico, I want you to ease his pain, end his humiliation. If he gives in, if he's about to sell out his compass, please, at least let him keep his honor.
That's a promise I can't make.
Why?
Amanda, we gave up our homes, but we're still alive. We're still fighting. And there's always another reason to keep on living.
I feel alive again.
Amanda, join my unit until you've healed up.
Your unit?
Yeah,
Who are you? Why are you here?
I'm Snake. Serviente.
Snake? Could it be The great cacique has come to lead us.
Kaz, can you hear me?
MSF here.
One for recovery. She's wounded.
Acknowledged.
Kaz, the cargo on the barge. I was right. It's headed for the mountains.
You think that's where they're taking the nukes?
I'm sure of it. Let's move.
Snake, Amanda's reached the plant.
Snake,
Amanda, how do you feel?
some first helicopter ride. I'll be perfectly happy if it's my last.
As you can see, she's doing fine. I set Amanda up with her own frequency, so call her anytime you need to.
If you have any questions about American bases or mercenary units, or about El Frente, just ask. And please, do not forget my compass and Chico.
Don't worry.
It's good to be working with you, boss.
Snake, we can monitor her condition in sickbay. Remember to assign roles to any POWs you bring back to Mother Base. How this outfit gets built depends on who we assign to what jobs. That'll determine how Mother Base grows. It's one of your most important roles, boss.
Yeah, I know.
Boss, one more thing.
Now what?
It's about sickbay. Naturally, we can use it for the sick or injured like we did with Amanda. But we can't expect people to get better without the proper treatment.
Uh-huh.
So I figure we'll need a medical team for that. The number of team members and their abilities will determine how quickly the sick and injured heal. They can also monitor everybody's health.
Right. Prevention is the best medicine.
You got it. Remember to wash your hands often and gargle twice a day, boss.
If only I had the time.
Commencing training mission. Missions like this are key to building up your basic skills. Be careful out there.
Right now, there don't appear to be any enemy soldiers in the area. Relax and concentrate on your target practice. And don't forget to look for targets in the shadows near the crates and forklifts. These are medium-range targets. You may want to consider taking something like an assault rifle with you. But I'll leave that up to you. Use whatever weapon you want to get some practice. Hey, Snake, mind if I ask you something?
Since when did you start asking permission?
So, you used to be part of a CIA paramilitary unit, right?
That's right.
Ever do any ops in Central America?
No, not personally. But there were other units who did all kinds of stuff.
I remember the Bay of Pigs invasion back in '61. The papers had a field day with it.
Operation Zapata. That was the CIA code name. The whole thing went south.
Then there was Che Guevara, being hunted down in Bolivia. I heard the CIA had a hand in that, too.
There were several units similar to mine. MSP, SOG. They'd recruit former special forces, train them as intelligence agents, and send them on deniable covert paramilitary operations. One of those units trained the Bolivian army in counter-guerrilla tactics.
And then had them shoot El Che.
So the story goes.
Hit the targets as fast and as accurately as you can.